Now, next 205 title fight. What are your thoughts on who this should be? Because right now there's kind of a debate as to is it Ankalaev that gets it? Is it Jamal Hill that gets it? Some people are optimistic that Izzy gets it, and they kind of rekindle that rivalry with him and Pereira. Where do you want to? You, obviously, neither of us can really predict exactly what happens. Where do you want to see this division go moving forward?
I think it's easier to say where I don't want it, and I think the one person who should have no right getting the light heavyweight shot is Israel Adesanya. I don't think there should be any reason he comes up and fights Pereira for the belt. Sure, they have their whole history, but it's been a very lopsided one so far, and I don't think there's much shot of him coming back. But no, in the UFC, that would be the headliner for UFC 300 and Alex Pereira Izzy Adesanya rematch. Realistically, because Yuri Prahova, or what
Prohash.
Yuri Prohashka guy. Yeah, I even had that for a second, then I lost it. He's fighting Rakic, so there's those two out of the picture. I would rather see Ankalaev fight Jan Blahovic again after they had their draw, and that's the thing. They fought for the title and they drew. I can't immediately give him this after a no contest, and sure, he beat Johnny Walker the second time. I think the one that makes the most sense, I guess that's a long way of putting it, is Jamal Hill. He was the champion. He didn't get his shot to defend because he tore his Achilles, I want to say, playing basketball. Big mistake there, first of all. What a bummer. But he's a very entertaining striker. He's a guy who will go toe to toe with Alex Pereira. I don't think Ankalaev necessarily would. I think he might have tried to take him down and use some of that Dagestani wrestling style. So I do think Jamal Hill and Alex Pereira will be the should be the next title fight in the light heavy division. What are
Yeah,
you thinking?
I'm 100% with you. When you're looking at this division, I think you have to respect what Jamal did in giving up the belt.
Oh yeah.
Um, and now you reward him, assuming he's healthy. If he's not healthy, then okay, you can give it to Magomed or someone else. But if he's healthy, I think you respect what Jamal did. And the performance against Glover um, was impressive, and I think he should be fighting for a belt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And um, the other thing that I'd like to mention is Yuri got hurt, and Jamal was waiting for Yuri to fight. Jamal could have fought way before he got hurt, way before he tore his Achilles. He was ready to. He fought in January and openly stated that he was ready to return in in the summer. But he was waiting for an injured guy to return. That's why he got injured, and I think it makes sense for someone for now Pereira to wait for him to what is a much more entertaining and compelling fight. I think that's one of the best fights you can book in the UFC for pure entertainment. And his manager said he would be ready to go in the summer. Um, UFC 301, UFC 302 is probably going to be Connor International Fight Week. Maybe you squeeze in Islam Makhachev. They're kind of trying to figure out what to do there. But I think if Jamal is healthy this summer, I think you give it to him this summer. If he needs to fall, then you can start reevaluating him. But if he's ready to go this summer, I think it's pretty fair that he gets the shot. And then, like you said, nobody ever wants to criticize Magomed Ankalaev for his mistakes. You didn't say that. I said that. But he got into a draw.
Yeah.
It wasn't really punished for getting a draw, which was a fair draw, and he had his title fight and kind of disappointed. So I think that it results in him waiting. I think that's fair.
While we're talking, and I completely agree with that. I mean, you can't go unpunished for fighting to a draw in a title fight.
Hmm.
Nonetheless, it was for a vacant belt. That's when you have to show out the most of who you are and why you deserve to be a champion. Ankalaev didn't do that, so
And
just
then Jamal took a title fight on a month's notice against Glover. So Jamal and Glover then step up to the plate. So Jamal a lot of good faith with the company for some of
oh,
the things he's done.
yeah. I'm just going to put one other shout out there for Alex
Hmm.
Pereira because I've seen a lot of talk about this. We know the situation at heavyweight. Do you think they would ever do a Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira fight next instead of a light heavyweight fight? Let the light heavyweight division kind of figure itself out. Wait for Jamal to heal.
Yeah, so I think this is a very interesting question because I can see both sides of it, and usually, with some of these, I can't see both. With some of these, like fan made or fan asked for fights, I can't see both sides, but I can see both sides with this matchup. I could see, hey, we've got Jamal waiting, or we've got Jamal ready to go. If you go up, now we've got to wait for Magomed. If you know, if Jan say Rakic knocks out Jan in the first round, now he needs a title fight. There's this light heavyweight division could quickly get backed up.
Mhm.
And I understand that. But I think what makes this really interesting is that John and Tom Aspinall have been talking to each other about legacy and Tom not deserving to fight John Jones. Well, um, you beat Alex Pereira. That's a name that adds to your legacy, a two division champion. If Alex Pereira wins, I
Oh,
think the UFC would be very, very, and I don't think Alex would win that fight.
I don't either. I think Aspinall kind of takes him down and smothers him relatively quickly.
I think Aspinall probably submits him in a minute and 30 seconds. Um, but that's a way you could get a name on Tom's resume to entice John, maybe. Because I think that's the fight the UFC wants is John versus Tom. I say their first names for some reason. But I'm getting a little long-winded here. But if Pereira wins, all of a sudden you've got a three division champion. Hey John, that's one that adds to your legacy.
Would be a hell of
Um,
a fight.
as unlikely as that is, I think that would be one that would entice John to stick around after the Stipe fight. So I see the positives to that fight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at of like it makes no sense if you're looking specifically at just the two guys fighting because it looks like a very one-sided fight. But the situation of now what a win in that fight means for the guy who wins to propel him forward. And that's another way we see the light heavyweight division get screwed over once again is
Hmm.
Pereira goes up, wins that interim belt. Suddenly he's like, I don't need to worry about light heavyweight. Another vacant belt. It's been
Yeah,
chaos since John left.
it has been. And one thing I will add to that is if that happens, I don't think it's UFC 300.
Okay.
That's one that people always like to say it's UFC 300. I don't think that would happen because that is a big enough fight to where that is a pay-per-view main event fight. I don't think it headlines UFC 300 because you're going to have more than one UFC title fight on UFC 300, and I don't think the UFC would put an interim belt higher than a undisputed belt on a card. Um, and you can see that in just when Tom won the interim belt, him and Sergey were the co-main to Alex and
Mhm.
Yuri. So I think that would not be UFC 300. I think that would be a different fight,
Okay.
just or a different fight card. Just from a logistical standpoint, I do think that should be pointed out that I don't think many people realize how that works. That's the same reason Connor won't headline UFC 300. If he does, it would be unprecedented that an individual with no belts on the line is higher on a card than belts. So I do want to point that out as
Yeah, no, I'm with you completely on that.
well. Hmm.